I'm Zach the Mothman Daggy, and this is Midnight Spook Show, your online source for all the horror news, reviews, and interviews that you can scream at. And for this edition of Midnight Spook Show, I'm giving you a bit of a late Christmas present. It is a review of the 2006 remake of Black Christmas. Now, this film is directed by Glenn Morgan. This is the guy that brought you the remake of Willard. And it stars Katie Cassidy of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, as well as the TV series Supernatural. And also in it is Michelle Trachtenberg of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Mercy, as well as Mary Elizabeth Winstead of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Live Free or Die Hard. And the plot line of Black Christmas, both the original and this, is that during the holidays, a psychopath breaks into a sorority and, while hiding up in the attic, begins to kill the sorority girls one by one. Like I said in a previous episode of Midnight Spook Show, in which I reviewed the original 1974 Black Christmas, the original is spectacular. It is the slasher film that really set the framework for Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all of these. And it was just amazing. And the 2006 remake is complete crap. Yeah, so bear with me as we go through one by one the reasons why this film failed on every level. For starters, what made the original 1974 Black Christmas work was that it was a killer that we never really saw. And so because of that, it was kind of a whodunit. There were suspects that could have been the killer, may not have been. And because we never knew quite what this psychopath's motives were, we really didn't know what to expect. And so the kills just came out of nowhere. And it always kept us on the edge of our seats. And the remake abandons all that. There is absolutely no suspense in this film. It's just mindless killings. And to boot, we know who the killer is right from the start. We know who the killer is. We've seen the killer. And we get all of this killer's morbid backstory in its entirety. A good friend of mine, Tim Kretschmann, who co-hosts Spookshow Live with yours truly and Alan Sale, once said something that really kind of struck home for the slasher genre. He was talking about the film Halloween, the original John Carpenter Halloween. And he said it was basically Jaws. That you had this mindless killing machine that you couldn't reason with, that was stalking you, and you were really kind of helpless in defending yourself. And because of that, Halloween worked. This film, on the other hand, decides to explain why Jaws is eating people. And I wish that was an analogy. It ruins it. I mean, you know why this person's killing, you know who's killing, and all that. And the other thing, the original film had this mysterious Agnes that the killer would talk about. He referred to his victims as Agnes. And you never really knew what that meant. This, they cast Agnes. Not only do they cast Agnes as the killer's sister, don't be thinking, oh, he just ruined part of the plot. You know this from the get-go. And Agnes, which is supposed to be a 22-year-old girl, is played by a much older dude. I'm guessing because they're trying to make Agnes, appear very ugly. that they cast a dude in the part. And it just doesn't work. And the big thing for me is the one silver lining they could have had in this film is they could have had a female slasher. You know, it hasn't really been done right. This film could have attempted to do that. But no, they get a guy to play the part, which seems a bit sexist to me. So that to me was a major faux pas. And the other thing is no suspense in this film at all. They decide to do all the kill scenes back to back to back to back to back. There's no, sneaking into a room. Could the killer be there? Could they not be there? No. One death after another, after another, after another, after another. And the victims have absolutely no identity. The original film at least gave each the girls in the sorority a unique personality. This one, they're all basically the same character. And they keep saying that they're protecting each other because of their sisterhood, of being in this sorority. Yet they don't get along. Don't get me wrong, I understand families can do that. But they don't drive it home. They just have them say stuff like, we have to save her, it's for sisterhood. And they don't have any way of establishing that these people have deeper, meaningful relationships. They just say that. In fact, they have a stranger come in who's suddenly part of this group. And then they act like, well, we've been family all of our lives. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. And the other thing, the big thing on the original Black Christmas was the classic line of the calls coming from inside the house. And this line comes up because the main character has the police involved. The police are trying to trace back these obscene phone calls. And that's where the line comes from, them revealing that the calls are coming from inside the house. That scene is not in this movie. It's like having a remake of The Shining without, here's Johnny. Or anything like that, Ghostbusters without who you gonna call. It's wrong. I will say, I guess, to conclude the review here, is that the saving graces that this film has, which aren't enough, is that the directing is spectacular. I really dig the directing in this film. It's very almost Hitchcock-like with a modern flair. It's done really brilliantly. And they do incorporate Christmas a lot more in this film. The first one, it was just it happens to be Christmas time. This time, it's kind of crucial to the plot. But that's about all that's good about it. It's crap. So, that's my review of the remake of Black Christmas. If you get a chance, do check out the original and not this one. I've got a link in my show notes available at spookshow.tv with more details on this, and also the original film as well. So check that out, and until next time, I'm your friendly new media moss man advising that when watching great horror films, not like this one, be sure to turn it up and turn out the lights. Cheers. This episode of Midnight Spook Show is brought to you by Angie's List. If you're looking for the best doctor, plumber, caterer, or dentist, Angie's List has you covered. They supply a list of some of the best and worst contractors in your area. And you can save 25% off your membership at Angie's List simply by signing up over at angieslist.com/midnight. And yes, indeed, Midnight Spook Show is proud to be a paid affiliate of Angie's List.